Hello and welcome to Verdictum. I'm Sheetal June and you're watching today's legal news where we update you with the latest legal developments across the country. Starting with the headlines. Delhi High Court refuses to stay ruling on contempt powers of Armed Forces Tribunal. Police cannot freeze entire bank account in financial fraud case, rules Madras High Court. Resignation not final until employer officially communicates to employee, Supreme Court. Bombay High Court discharges 9 police officers in jail spy selection case. Tik-Tok heads to court over US law that could lead to its ban. Now the news in detail. The Delhi High Court has refused to stay full bench judgment of the Armed Forces Tribunal AFT, which had held that the tribunal possesses powers of contempt to get its order implemented in cases of willful non-compliance by the government. The ATF's larger bench was constituted when a 2-member bench at Delhi had expressed apprehensions in following a judgment of the Kerala High Court, which had directed the Kochi bench to invoke powers of contempt in case of non-compliance by defense authorities. In a landmark judgment running into more than 500 pages, the longest in the ATF's history, the larger bench had interpreted the law to hold that the legislature did not intend keeping the ATF toothless. It had observed that more than 5,000 of the tribunal's orders were lying unimplemented even though there were no stay on them from the High Court or the Supreme Court. The ATF judgment was challenged before the Delhi High Court through a writ petition filed by the Union government, but the bench questioned the Government Council whether the army had filed the petition with the specific approval of the Ministry of Defence or not. The High Court also directed a specific affidavit to be filed by the Defence Secretary whether approval of the ministry had been taken or not before challenging the ATF order. While adjourning the matter to October, the High Court made it clear that it was not issuing a notice in the matter or staying the judgment and directed that the ATF should continue hearing contempt proceedings. The Madras High Court has ruled that police cannot freeze entire bank accounts during financial fraud investigations. Only the amount involved in the alleged fraud can be frozen. The court's decision came after an account of a petitioner was frozen in connection with a cryptocurrency case for over a year. Justice Jayachandran emphasized that freezing entire accounts deprives individuals of their livelihood and financial stability. He noted that account holders are often unaware of why accounts are frozen, and by the time they find out, significant damage has already been done to their daily finances and business transactions. He also stressed that despite legal provisions requiring investigative agencies to notify account holders and courts when accounts are frozen, it is often overlooked. The judge referenced Section 102 of the Criminal Procedure Code, now replaced by Section 106 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which mandates a timely reporting of such actions. The Supreme Court has ruled that if resignation letter is withdrawn by the employee before it was officially accepted by the employer, then the resignation could not be deemed to be accepted. The court passed this verdict while allowing reinstatement of an employee to the railways and observed that a mere internal communication about accepting the employee's resignation letter could not be said to be acceptance of the resignation letter. Such an acceptance has to be officially communicated to the employee, the court noted. The petitioner in the present case had served for 23 years at the Conan Rail Corporation since 1990. He tendered his resignation in December 2013, stating that it may be considered as coming into effect on expiry of 1 month. The petitioner informed the court that though the resignation letter was accepted with effect from 7/4/2014, there was no official communication about such acceptance to the appellant. The petitioner stated that he was consistently in touch with the employer and even reported to duty upon being called on by the employer, which showed that the employer didn't accept his resignation. After the railways relieved him from services, the petitioner moved the High Court where a single judge bench ruled in his favor. However, the railways appealed against the order. The division bench reversed the same. A bench of Justice P.S. Narasimha and Justice Pankaj Mittal upheld the single judge order of the High Court and observed that since the petitioner reported on duty and was consistently in touch with the employer, it cannot be said that the appellant resigned from the job. The Bombay High Court has discharged 9 police officers from allegations of corruption in a selection process for jail sepais. Justice Sandeep Marne ruled in favor of the officers who had faced charges related to manipulating scores of the selected candidates at the behest of senior officials. The discharged officers, ranging from clerks to superintendents of various prisons in western Maharashtra, were implicated in a case dating back to 2006. The ACB alleged that the three accused had hatched a criminal conspiracy resulting in forgery, falsification of records, and large-scale corruption during the selection process of 67 jail Sepoy posts. The 9 officers were later named as accused in the ACB's charge sheet. The US government and Tik-Tok will go head-to-head in federal court as oral arguments begin in a consequential legal case that will determine if or how a popular social media platform used by nearly half of the Americans will continue to operate in the country. Attorneys of the two sides will appear before a panel of judges at the Federal Appeals Court in Washington. TikTok and its China-based parent company ByteDance are challenging a US law that requires them to break ties or face a ban in the US by mid-January. The legal battle is expected to reach the US Supreme Court. That was all on today's legal news. Thank you and keep watching Verdictum. Subscribe to our channel and download the Verdictum app on iOS and Android devices for the latest legal updates.